Inequalities. When you solve inequalities, they're just like solving equations, except for now you have to be mindful of which way your inequality symbol is facing. So our 5s minus 7 is greater than negative 42. Solving for a variable, you have to do the inverse of what's being done, which means you have to do the inverse of the order of operations. You have to work the order of operations backwards. So instead of ending with adding and subtracting, we're going to start off with adding and subtracting. I'm subtracting 7 from the left side, which is where my variable is, so I'm going to add 7 to both sides so that these cancel out. That leaves me with 5s is greater than, I have a negative 42 plus 7. My signs are different, so I'm going to subtract. 42 minus 7 is 35. The bigger number is negative, so 35 is negative. Now I have 5 times s is greater than negative 35. In order to get s by itself, I have to divide by 5 on both sides. And that gives me that s is greater than negative 7. If you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, then you have to change the direction of the inequality symbol. Because I'm multiplying both sides by a positive number, it's going to stay greater than. So now I graph this. I have an open circle because my inequality sign is greater than, so it can't be negative 7. It's just numbers that are bigger than negative 7. So I'm going to put an open circle on negative 7, and I'm going to shade everything that's bigger than negative 7. So what this is saying is I can plug any number bigger than negative 7 into this original inequality, and it will give me a true statement. 19 is less than or greater than negative 2q plus 5. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my inequality so that my variable is on the left side, because we always want our variable to be on the left side. Negative 2q, since I'm moving this to the left side, I'm going to have to turn this sign around, because it's still negative 2q plus 5 is what's bigger than 19, so I'm going to have to flip that. So now I'll start with adding or subtracting. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. Those cancel out and leaves me with negative 2q on the left side is greater than or equal to 19 minus 5 is 14. Now I have a one-step inequality. I have negative 2 times q is greater than or equal to 14. So I'm going to divide by negative 2 on both sides. Because I'm dividing both sides by a negative number, these are going to cancel out and leave me with q. I'm going to have to change the direction of my inequality sign. So instead of being greater than or equal to, q is now going to be less than or equal to. Because 14 divided by negative 2 is negative 7. When you multiply or divide both sides by a negative sign, it's going to change the sign of what's on the right-hand side, and that's why we need to change the direction of our inequality sign. So now we're going to graph it. I'm going to have a closed circle because it's less than or equal to. We can use negative 7 to plug into this inequality to get a true statement. So I'm going to put a closed circle on negative 7, and I'm going to shade everything that's smaller than negative 7. Y divided by negative 4 plus 6 is greater than 10. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. That leaves me with y divided by negative 4 is greater than 10 minus 6 is 4. When you have a one-step inequality that's written like this, this is division. So the inverse of dividing is going to be to multiply both sides by negative 4. I'm multiplying by a negative number, so I'm changing the sign of the right-hand side, which means I'm going to have to flip my inequality sign. Y is now less than 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. When I graph this, I'm going to have an open circle because y cannot be negative 16, but it can be everything that's smaller than negative 16. So I'm going to have an open circle and shade everything to the left. All right, when you're solving inequalities, if you have the distributive property, you need to distribute first. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times negative r is negative 4r. Bring everything else down. Before you can move anything to the other side, you need to combine like terms. 16 plus 1 is 17 minus 4r is greater than 13. You're going to subtract by 17 from both sides. (13 minus 17 is negative 4. Now I need to divide by negative 4 on both sides. Because I'm dividing by a negative number on both sides, this is going to change the direction of my inequality sign. It's now r is less than, and negative 4 divided by negative 4 is positive 1. So when we graph this, we have an open circle and we're shading everything that's less than positive 1. 4d minus 12 plus 2d is less than 6. First thing I need to do is combine like terms. 4d plus 2d is 6d. Bring everything else down. I have 6d minus 12 is less than 6. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. 6d is less than 18. 6 times d. So I'm going to do the inverse, which is division. 18 divided by 6 is 3. D is less than 3. So I'm going to have an open circle because D cannot be 3. It's just everything that's less than 3. And then I'm going to shade everything that's smaller than 3. The 35 members of a drill team are trying to raise at least $1,200 to cover the cost of the training camp. They have already raised $500. How much should each member still raise on average to meet the goal? So I'm looking for key words here. They want to raise at least $1,200. They can raise $1,200 or they can raise more than $1,200, but they want at the very least to get $1,200. So I know that my inequality is going to be greater than or equal to 1,200. Because whatever I put over here can equal more than 1,200 or it can be right on 1,200. They just want to have at the very least $1,200. So now I've got to figure out what is going to go on this side. They have already raised $500. So they have $500. How much should each member still raise on average to meet the goal? Well, we have to think, how many members do they have? They have 35 members times however much they need to make. So we're going to have 500 plus 35x is greater than or equal to 1,200. So how much they want to raise, I'm going to subtract 500 out of that cost, because they want at least 1,200 and they've already raised 1,200, then they are 700 to their goal. They have 35 members trying to raise this money, so we're going to divide that up between those 35 people. And that means that each person needs to raise at least $20.